The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.
And we've made it episode 51 of the Silly Goose Gang Podcast, and we're delighted to be joined this evening by the great and powerful Laura Zerra. So Laura, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
It's we've been looking forward to this one ever since obviously, firstly, we were put onto you by Bert Soren. It feels weird when you call these people by first names, so like I'll have to say Bert Soren. So yeah, Bert was on and he was talking about, I think he was talking about campaigns at the time. And then he said, "Oh, I've got this other crazy friend, Laura. Like, I don't know if you know." And then she was telling us this story. So we kind of like both scribbled down the name. Like, who is this? Let's message her. So, yeah, here we are. So that was.
I'm honored he was talking about me because he's the legend himself. So
absolute sweetheart. He's the first person that sent us something. He sent us like a T-shirt each and some stickers. He's such
He's like one of the best guys. Just like hands down, you can't say anything bad about him.
He's an awesome guy.
Agree 100%. What's funny as well is I think it was literally the next day, like I was striking while the iron was still hot. I jumped on Instagram, followed you, slid casually into your DMs, and you actually replied and said like you very rarely check that other folder, and
it was perfect. It was like meant to be because I do. I mean, going in there sometimes is scary. It's like I go in there when I want to laugh sometimes because man, some of the weird pictures people send, it's hilarious. But it was perfect timing. I saw your message. I was like, oh great, I need to do this more often because there's actually people getting lost in here that I really want to talk to.
Yeah, that's we don't send. Well, but to be fair, we do send each other weird pictures, but generally.
Just for the record, possibly not the same weird pictures Laura's referring to. Yeah. Just before anyone's.
What kind of pictures you guys sending?
So this morning when we were not training jiu-jitsu because that's highly illegal, Ali pulled out a luchador mask, and I was like, "Why does a 42-year-old man have a fucking luchador mask in his bag?"
I mean, I think that's really important. I think if you don't have one, you're weird. So I kind of wish I wore mine now.
How else can I fully get into the character of El Loco Diablo? It just doesn't work without the lucha mask. So
they're really important.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to know about this crazy story that Bert told us.
Yes. Well, so I have this sick obsession with antlers where I love finding shed antlers. So every year, some people don't know, but every year elk and deer lose their antlers and I like to go and find them. It's like hunting for treasure and it's kind of a sickness and people ask me to explain why. And I can't. I'll own the fact that there's no reason. I just love it. I mean, I think I never know what's going to happen out there. And it's kind of like something that gets me out into these really remote places that leads to other cool experiences. But it's also just about the moment of finding that antler. So anyway, yeah, I go out every spring. It's kind of like when the snow first starts melting is when the elk lose their sheds. So I went out there for, a month and carried all my own food on my back for a month, which is obviously really heavy and mostly butter because that's what I eat a lot of out there to keep weight on since I'm burning so many calories. And I mean, there's just no shoe that is going to have my feet be okay in that kind of terrain, that kind of distance with that kind of weight on my back. So I mean, first day, my feet are just, I think I made it maybe 20 miles before I was like, boots aren't happening anymore. Like my feet, the backs of them get, ripped off and the toenails all get blisters under them and then they pop off and it's a train wreck, but it's worth it, and it's like the price to pay. I always say like I lose my toenails every year, like the deer lose their antlers. It's kind of like a tradition. But yeah, I mean, this was a particularly rough one. I was hiking in like 50, 60 miles and ended up the night that I got to my destination, I'll never forget. I went to sleep. It was pouring rain. I just like climbed into my sleeping bag in my bivy sack and I was in so much pain, but I was exhausted. But every time I rolled over, what happened was my feet, where they were all, open and weeping, the skin would dry onto the sleeping bag. So every time I rolled over, it would like rip open the wound again. I was like, what am I doing? You know, I get up in the morning and I can't even barely hobble around camp. But then you just start walking in the mountains. And I'd say the first mile is pretty terrible. And then, I don't know, maybe it's just like your body realizes that the pain signals that it's sending aren't doing anything. So it just kind of says, all right, we're not going to pay attention to that anymore. And then I just go like a psycho until night. And then, you know, that's when you feel the pain is like morning and night, but it's just worth it. And it's kind of like the cost of doing business. So, yeah, it's all about just like, for me, those are the moments I feel alive. It's like you're pushing those edges and you're uncomfortable, but you're getting to do something that, you know, I mean, it's not like I was seeing anyone else out there. No one else was crazy enough to do it. And I get to have these experiences that are just, you know, memorable to say the least.
Yeah. So all this happened. So did you start getting tracked by some like bears or wolves or both?
I did. I had a wolf pee on my, once I did finally set up a tarp, I had a wolf come and pee all over my sleeping bag and all over my tarp setup. So I started peeing around the tent so that they wouldn't pee on it anymore. It's like a sign of dominance because, you know, you can't let them walk all over you. But I mean, there's countless experiences out there where it's like, you know, you're walking along and it's snowing. I mean, this one time in particular, I'm walking along and I'm entering this pretty dense forest, coniferous forest, and, you know, maybe an inch of snow on the ground. And I'm like, all right, I don't think this is a good spot for antlers. Like, it's a cool spot, but I'm headed the wrong direction. I want to go up and check out this ridge I was seeing before. Turn around, get maybe, I don't know, 20 feet or so behind me. And there's fresh wolf tracks in my tracks. You know, like, it's snowing. You can't cheat it. Like, it's literally just fresh prints in my prints. And the time that it took me to stop and say, all right, now I'm going to turn around and start walking back, like, somehow in those moments, the wolves were gone. So it's like, to me, it's incredible. I almost take offense to the fact that they don't attack me because I'm like, man, I'm so vulnerable. Like, I'm such easy prey. And it's like, they don't, you know, why aren't you attacking me? You guys could have taken me down so easily. Why am I not part of this system, you know? But there's been so many moments like that. Same with mountain lions. You know, I think if mountain lions really wanted to eat people wouldn't go in the woods because, I mean, they're there, and it's just incredible how you can't, you know, you rarely see them, but they're there. So grizzly bears, I mean, same thing. I've been super close to grizzlies, and I don't know why they don't attack me, but I'm going to knock on wood right now.
Totally.
You know, as long as you follow the rules 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, you're going to be okay. You're always going to get the psycho bear, like you get psycho people that are going to push the edges. But I don't know. It's worth it. I think I'm more likely to die in a car accident, to be honest. Yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah. So after you get back, you run a 50K.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he was going to run a 50K, and so actually, funny enough, the only race I'd ever run before that was Cam Haynes's 5K in Vegas. It's like a fun 5K he does every year at SHOT Show. So I'd run that once, and I was like, that was cool. Friend of mine was signing up for an ultra marathon, and I was like, sure, like, I'll do it with you. That sounds like fun. So I had all these great plans for, you know, training, but I ended up going out and heading into the mountains, and I hadn't run in, you know, over a month, but I'd been in the mountains. I figured it wouldn't be a problem. And yeah, I hobbled up to the starting line, and, you know, I hadn't gone my first mile yet, so I could barely walk still. And I'm hobbling up there, and all these people at the starting line are looking at me like, are you okay, ma'am? Like, are you going to be okay with this? Most people hobble at the end. I'm like, no, it's great. Just give me that first mile and I'm good. And it was super fun. And I really want to run another. But I don't know. I have to like make that commitment. Scheduling is probably the hardest thing, but
no pressure, but there's some pretty awesome races in Scotland.
Oh, sign me up then. I feel like I do. I just need to pull the trigger. Like, I don't know. Can I travel there? What's the deal now? The world's weird.
Yeah, I think probably have to wait till next year the way things are going, but eventually I'll open back up.
Dirty American over here, so.
Yeah. Do you know the funniest part of that story you were just telling me, Laura, is you're casually throwing in the fact that, like, there's wolves, there's mountain lions, there's grizzlies. Now, Chris does a lot of hill climbing. and he messaged me once when he was halfway up. It might have been Ben Nevis, the tallest mountain in Scotland.
I know what you're talking about.
So, and obviously, he goes up early morning, so he heads up into the hills about 3 a.m. So he's up at the summit for sunrise, because it's the highest point in Scotland. Sometimes you get cracking, as long as the weather's okay, you got a stunning view. So Chris messages me. He's got the head torch on because it's dark. And there's, obviously in Scotland, we don't have grizzly bears, just for the record. We don't have mountain lions, just for the record. We don't even have wild wolves, just for the record. What we do have on Ben Nevis is sheep.
Oh.
Commercial sheep, not like bighorn sheep, just sheep.
Right.
And Chris was seeing the eye shine and was like, maybe it is a grizzly. Maybe it is. So proceeded to run with his lock knife in his pocket open, just in case.
So
hey, you can't be too sure. You never know. It could be like the first one. Someone brought it over as a pet and released it. Had a taste for human blood. I don't know.
there has been big cat sightings in Scotland. Nothing confirmed. But my logic. So the logic was, I had a multi-tool, my Leatherman, in my bag. Like, my bag's always packed, like a bivvy bag, and spare warm layers, gloves, food, all sorts of shit. And I'm going to the hill, and I keep seeing these little demon fucking eyes, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's a sheep. I know it's a sheep, but it's not a sheep. And then it's like, okay, I have a knife. So the knife is no use in my bag, so I should put it in my pocket. And then it's like, okay, but it's no use being closed, so I might as well open it. So then I'm just walking up Ben Nevis, like 5 a.m. in the morning with a knife. So if
and then you fall and you stab yourself and you're your own worst enemy.
Fucking idiot. But, that's how it worked. But then, like, I've ran a marathon and this is the same thing happened. So I ran a marathon in Northumbria. So it was like the darkest skies in the UK, just over the border in England. So you start at like 6 p.m. And it gets dark. So you finish the marathon at night. But there's like running through these woods. I only signed up for the marathon because apparently you could see the Milky Way. So I did a marathon just to do that, and I didn't see it. So I'm confused, and it starts getting trippy. And there's these trees with no branches on them. And in my head, like alone, head torch, and it's like, what if there's a bear? Like, and I was looking for the last like 7 miles of the marathon. It's just looking at trees to like, I'm going to climb up that tree. If there's a fucking bear, I'm up that tree. And then I get to the finish line, and you get like some hot soup and everything. And he's like, there's no fucking bears. What the fuck? So let's bad people.
I mean,
it's nature though.
You just don't know, Aren't there like hippos in Colombia from who is it, like Pablo Escobar?
Oh, Escobar, yes.
Yeah, hippos are still there, It's like you wouldn't expect hippos to be there, but they are. So you always gotta be prepared.
There has been big cat sightings in Scotland, but nothing confirmed.
There has. But on the flip of that, though, I used to surf and go scuba diving all the time around the coast of Scotland, and you get basking sharks and you get big seals, but nothing else. But there were times when I'd be going through kelp and I would just hear bird up.
Oh, totally.
Bird up.
It's funny how our minds are like still have that survival instinct in them, even though the chances are obviously pretty low. It's like the amount of times people think about it is kind of amazing. And then you hear stories. Like I was just talking to someone who was telling me stories about Russians killing grizzly, brown bears with knives, like wrapping their arm up in padding and going and like stabbing bears and using that arm as like a sacrificial arm to stab and kill brown bears with a knife. So I don't feel like a badass at all. I mean, I've never done that.
That is proper badass.
I got kicked out again there. I don't know why.
I was about to say, you've totally frozen a big cheesy face, but you've also managed to jump back in.
Yeah, that's fine.
I got scared because, talking about like wrangling bears with a knife, but...
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not worried. That's fine. Yeah, but what was the other thing I was going to say there? I can't even remember. It was something about... I don't know. I'm now lost my train of thought because I got kicked out of the conversation. I don't know. It's probably not important. It's probably not important. But yeah, these I mean, I've swam in, is it Loch Shieldaig on the Keltman, which is one of the hardest iron distance triathlons in the world, and there's jellyfish in there, and that freaks me out. It's swimming in there, you see them, holy shit.
Oh yeah.
And then halfway through, you're like, fuck these little bastards, and you're just smashing through them all because you're like, I've had enough now. I want out of this 8-degree water.
in Australia, learning that, you don't go into the water during certain times of the year up north because it's like stinger season and the jellyfish get you. And apparently I heard that people die from the pain. The pain is actually so intense that they have a heart attack and they drown. I was like, that is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
to think about.
I've got family in Australia, and they always say like, "Come over," but it's just like it's full of shit that kills you.
Oh, you need to. Honestly, Australia is one of the most amazing places. And I feel like it's good that it has that reputation that everything there kills you because it kind of keeps it remote. But it's worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah, maybe one day. I'm one of those people where I never understood when we were younger, like Ali with no friends. Everybody goes to Australia for a gap year, like in Scotland. So it's like everybody goes to Australia, and I was always like, yeah, but I haven't seen all of Scotland yet. So why do I want to go to Australia? There's still so much stuff to explore here. So yeah, I haven't been, and I'd rather. It seems way cooler to me to go into the wilderness in America than. Do you know what I mean? Australia. That seems cooler.
I mean, it is. It's pretty amazing out here because there's just so many different bioregions. I mean, Australia is the same, but here it's like, I don't know, so many places you can still get really remote and there's big predators, which is fun, and big animals. And I don't know, there's just so many different regions you can go to and they're all different and beautiful in their own way. I mean, I'm still enjoying exploring America for as much as I can't travel internationally right now. I'm like, I'm going to be stuck somewhere. I got a lot of room to roam here, so it works.
So when you're out doing all these crazy things, getting, having wolves pee on your tent and stuff, what do you have for protection? Do you have any, nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, we need to teach you jiu-jitsu. Like as a bare minimum.
I have a dog now, and I've started to bring a 10mm pistol out with me because my only fear is like, I feel pretty confident in how I'm going to handle a situation, but with him, I don't want him to get in trouble and then me to be responsible for his death because he's super protective of me. So I'm just worried that like a grizzly comes in, he's going to challenge it because he's going to be protective of me. And then, I don't want to be there helpless, like, stop, so, but generally speaking, when I'm going out for a long period of time, it's like, I don't know, I feel safer out there than I do anywhere else in my life. So it's like, it's fine. I don't know.
I think I would take like an Apache gunship or something. I don't know, like I'm
load up.
Yeah, I'm taking knives, but for sheep, and you're going out with bears. Like, I think I'll be fine. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just throwing hard butter at the wolves. Stop it.
No way. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so far so good. I feel like if I was on the menu, I would have been eaten such a long time ago. I've just been in so many situations at that point. Maybe I've just been lulled into complacency, and this is going to be the year that you guys are like, yeah, we had Laura Zerra on the show, and now she's dead. But, but yeah, I just feel safe. I mean, the only thing I'd worry about is meeting another person out there. But that's why I go to such remote places. I don't even have to worry about that. So
I suppose. Yeah. It does make sense. It's still, I don't know, the thought going out that far with nothing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's crazy. I would take something, definitely. But did you grow up like living this lifestyle? Or is it something that you found later?
Yeah, I grew up super normal. I grew up in a house in suburbia with very normal parents. My dad was an electrical engineer. My mom was a preschool teacher, and like super normal childhood, but I always spent time in the woods by myself. That was what I did. But by woods, I mean the overgrown tobacco field at the end of my house. And I would just go there and see how close I could get to animals. And in particular, the coyotes. I loved the coyotes. I would spend a lot of time with them, and they would just kind of tolerate me being there because I was always just the weird girl that would show up and try to like hang out with them. And they were like, she doesn't have any friends, the poor thing. Like, we'll tolerate her close to us. So I spent a lot of time out there, and the more time I spent, the more I wanted to be there. It was just always what felt like home to me. And I don't know, I still thought that I had to grow up and get a normal job and that going out in the mountains or the woods or whatever was something I would just do on the weekend. I thought that's what you had to do. And then I realized that wasn't what I had to do. And then it started getting real crazy because I just never wanted to come out.
Yeah. Are you like me? Do you not like going into the woods with anybody? Do you like prefer it on your own?
I feel guilty when I bring people in the woods because I have to, first of all, I have to tone it down and just be like, okay, I'm not going to like run around like a psycho like I normally do. I'm going to stay with you. And then it becomes like a liability thing where I feel like the whole time I'm just trying to keep track of where they are and make sure I'm not getting too far away from them. So yeah, to be honest, I don't know if there was like some psycho who wants to keep up, great. But generally speaking, I mean, I brought a friend in there, a couple years ago now, and ended up kind of underselling the landscape where I was going. And he ended up messing his knee up pretty bad out there. And, that happens. And so it's just better a lot of times when I go out by myself.
Yeah, I've climbed like hills, like, but on one hand, how many times I've taken people, and I don't particularly like it, and just like to go and have the hill to myself. That's why I like to go early. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just Laura Zerra weird, I guess. I thought I don't like that.
It is like there's something about it, and there's a place my mind goes where when you're not talking and trying to communicate, not that I don't like doing that sometimes, but when you're out there, you can just be this human animal and you can go at your own pace and you're not thinking analytically anymore. You go into that kind of other mindset where you're just existing and you're moving and you're really in your body and not in your mind. And there's just a freedom in that, and being disconnected from phones and technology and all of that, and just really seeing and being aware of everything that's going on. I don't know. Like I said before, like those are the moments you remember. It's like you can scroll through all your internet and your social media and whatever. It's a great tool. It's a great way to keep up with people. But, you can also go through whole days that are just kind of blurred together. Whereas going out there, you remember every single moment you had. And that's just, I'm addicted to that feeling of being, for me, that's when I feel alive, like I said. So it's like, why would I not want to feel alive as much as I can? And then when you come out, you appreciate human contact because you've been talking trees and rocks, so it's kind of.
I think we did speak to Bert about this a little bit, didn't he? Because he had this kind of moment, and I think he was in Scotland.
It was when he was up in Newtonmore, wasn't it?
That was right. Yeah, he had been doing a Highland Games thing, and then I think he had like left a pub and he was heading back to where he was staying, and he was just kind of walking through this field in Scotland alone, just like, wow, this is amazing. There was nothing else there. Nobody knew who he was. Yeah, it was just a guy walking through a field, and it was like, I love that. I love that aloneness.
It's like, for as much as I appreciate a hot shower and a comfortable bed, it's like the freedom I have when I'm out there is just, it's such a good space to go and to just like remember what it's like to be a human and your mind settle and not be just on this high-paced, stressed, oh my gosh, let me look at my schedule and what do I have planned and who's going to call and I didn't answer these emails. It's like when you go out there, none of that, like it all just ceases to exist. And I think particularly now when the world is so chaotic, it's like you go out in the mountains and nothing's changed. It's all still the same. And so there's this sense of normalcy that not a lot of people have in their normal lives right now. And going out there brings everything back into focus and what's important and what are my needs. And, I don't know. I know a lot of people who have really struggled with like depression or just anxiety through this whole thing. And it's like, I just feel like I just want to tell everyone, like, get out to a place where it just, none of that matters.
Yeah. I've got a friend that every day on their social media post on a Monday, they're like so far away from weekend day. And then on the Tuesday, they're like, oh, Tuesday, and then Wednesday's like almost their day, and then Thursday's like the weekend eve, and then Friday they're like, fuck yeah, we made it to Friday. But it's every single week, so it's like for 52 times a year they're posting every Monday the exact same status, on the Wednesday the same. And I'm like, if you hate things that bad, make a change in it. Do you know what I mean? Make a change, because something's obviously not working for you. It's not working for you mentally, it's not working for you physically. There's just more to life than just counting off ticks on a calendar to get to the weekend. You know what I mean?
God,
Yeah.
I mean, that's with my whole childhood was like crying Sunday nights because I had school the next day and then being like, I just got to make it till Wednesday. So I'm halfway through. And I think for me, that's why I've like gone to the extreme. Is like, I hated school so much. It was just, oh God, it was like traumatic almost. I mean, I hated it and I had to do it. And as soon as I broke free from that, it was so, I mean, sure, it was scary. Like I thought I had to go to school and get a good job and blah, blah, blah. But obviously it was easy. It's easy when you don't have responsibilities like a family or whatever. But for me, it was like, it just changed everything. And I still feel like there's ways, even when people have massive responsibilities, like when you feel trapped in that situation, it's like, got to be something you can change, some way to make it better, without like completely going feral like I did.
So I know, like for me, Laura, so like I always, when you get into your 30s and people are going, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? When are you settling? And then I was like, I don't know. Like, am I weird? Because I don't really want to do this right now. And then it was kind of listening to Henry Rollins. And then I was like, oh, actually, I don't have to do this stuff. I can just do this. Like this might be my normal to do this, and fuck it. The amount of people. I was supposed to go to a jiu-jitsu training camp in Iceland this year, which I couldn't go to because of COVID. But it was like, I'm going to go there, and then asked a few guys like, "You want to go?" And like, yeah, wife won't let me. Can't afford it because I've got a family holiday. And I'm like, well, I'm fucking going, and nobody else could do it. And it's like, well, okay. I think, and then, as we're saying, guys hating like Monday and Wednesday, and I wake up pretty much every day and like go, whew, what are we doing today? Okay, let's go swimming. Let's go fucking run a hill. So it's was there a moment in life where you realized that, okay, this isn't what other people would call weird? Because I know, we'd say you're a crazy person, but you're not a crazy person to me. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. So was there a moment where you realized like, everybody else is crazy and I'm the normal one?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think realizing that even though I was doing, traveling this road that I was just inventing as I was going along, I realized that I was happy. And I think it was in talking to other people and seeing how miserable and stuck that, not everyone, but some people were. It was like, gosh, like talking to people after being out of high school for 5 years and having everyone say, oh, high school was the best years of our lives. And it was like, no, every year's getting better. What are you doing that it's not good anymore? And I think it just makes me sad how many people, not that my way is the only way to live. Like I know plenty of people who are settled down, have a job they love and a family and are super happy. And that's amazing. But for the people that don't, I'm just like, man, for me, it's like knowing that I'm happy, you can't fake that. Like when you go to bed at night and you're falling asleep, like, whether or not you're happy. And I just don't know, why you wouldn't try to do whatever it was that makes you happy. It's just, it's weird to me that you wouldn't want to be happy, or that, I don't know if it's like people don't think they deserve it or they can do it or what, or that it's just this elusive dream. I'm like, no, I wake up excited and it's not that bad things don't happen, but it's like, I feel like I'm in control of my life and that I can react to situations that come up, and I'm going to do that in a way that is true to myself and what I want in my life. So I don't know why everyone doesn't do that.
It's very true. I've got it at the other end of the scale. Like, so I've got 3 kids. My oldest is an 18-year-old son. I've got a 17-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. And we've been having chats with my 2 sons about the next big thing, because one of them's just finished high school with COVID. He got his last year stolen off him, kind of with everything that shut down. My other one's just about to finish high school. And you kind of forget, do you know what I mean? Like, I have to take the dad hat off sometimes to be like, it's actually okay not to have a crazy plan because you are only 17, you are only 18. I think back to when I was 17, 18, I was traveling around Europe with my surfboard and a group of mates. And like Logan, and he'll probably hate me if any of his friends, let's be honest, Chris, his friends aren't listening to this, so I should be okay. But like he loved up until probably about 2 years ago wrestling, as in pro wrestling, not like Olympic wrestling, but like WWE stuff. Yeah. And up until about a year and a half ago, he was like, could I be a pro wrestler? I was like, fuck yeah, we'll get you a WrestleMania moment, we'll get you the IC strap, let's get after it. And now he's like, no, I can't do that. Folk will laugh at me. And it's been in that year and a half as he's got that little bit older, and as you say, the societal pressure of high school where you have to be, you know, you either are very outcast or you have to fit in, and Logan's one of these kids that wants to fit in. And now he's like, I couldn't be a wrestler because it's not a real job. I'm like, are you kidding? You get to jump off steel cages, you get put through tables. That is a total real job. But do you know, it's difficult, eh? And then my 11-year-old daughter is very much what you were just saying. Every Sunday night we have crazy tantrums about the fact that why do I have to go to school? Because you do. It's rubbish. And I'm like, I know it is. And it's going to be rubbish for another 7 years. So suck up, princess, and get to school.
But then, you know, I mean, I think the crazy thing for me was I was so miserable in school. And then I chose to go to college because I did buy into that whole thing of like, well, if I don't, you know, what are people going to think? And that's what you have to do. And there is a lot of pressure. And it's a lot of pressure to just stay in the safe zone and be mediocre and not push for something more than that. But it's interesting because, you know, the people that I've met, it's like the ones who are really happy now and getting to do what they love, a lot of them just stopped listening at some point. And whatever it was that made them stop listening, it's like that moment in time, from that time on, it was like all the limitations that people put on them. It's like, well, that was your limiting belief, but I just proved you wrong, you know? And I could not have planned my future. Like when people ask me what I do, I still don't have a name for the job I do. I have no idea what it is, but I couldn't have planned a better future at any point in time. And work towards this goal. It's like, I just followed my passion and I did what I loved. And I just didn't let it bother me when people told me that it wasn't safe and secure, and everything's worked out pretty great. So it's like, I don't know, it's scary and it's not, you know, considered normal, but I don't know. Why would you want to just limit yourself to normal and mediocre? Like, I don't know. It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
But then it sounds a little bit cliche, but like what's normal? Like, why does normal have to be get a job, you know, whatever, you know, working for the government or working in a back? Like, why does that stuff have to be the normal? Why does that, can it well be, you know, you have to do this and you have to, no, you don't.
Right.
You
right.
You want to be a wrestler? Be a wrestler. Why not?
Yeah, just put the work, you know, because there's going to be even, you know, you take this percentage of people that wants to do that, and how many people are willing to put the work in that takes to get there. So if you're just the person who's going to go out and outwork everyone, then you're probably going to succeed in that, because everyone else is going to drop off along the way. And if you just push for it, then I don't know. It's amazing what happens with that.
So I don't like, so I was, in that sense, because now I'm probably most people, I'm probably the happiest person most people know. I would say now, because I'm always smiling and joking and having fun doing what I want. But I was, in that sense, very much a late bloomer. And everything I've done, I've been a late bloomer. So I didn't really understand, you know, how, you know, when people, especially when people seem like they have things figured out, like young, and you're like, shit, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and then things start to fall into place later on in life. You go, oh no, I actually do know what I'm doing. They actually never knew what they were doing. So then you start to get like more confident. And like 5 years ago, I could never have done this. I could never have done this because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I would have been like, oh shit, that suck. Does everybody hate me? And now it's like, fuck it. I don't care. If you don't like it, don't watch it. What are you doing anyway? You know, you're not doing anything. You fucking divorced living with your mum again, you fucking assholes. You know, so,
10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I don't even know where we're going now. We kind of went wildly off track there, right?
No, it's a good chat, and it's totally true, because some people do. Like I was a dad at 24. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm 24 years old, and suddenly you've got a kid, and no one gives you the instruction manual, and you just hope that you know you keep them alive, but also give them just enough childhood drama to make them funny and interesting. It's that kind of balancing act. It's that balancing act.
I would like to say that Ali's now 42, and I still can't believe you're in charge of anybody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Although if Sandra's listening to this, she knows she's in charge.
Yeah, she's the boss. So when, like, how did the because I think Ali was talking about this briefly before we joined in. How did the Naked and Afraid thing come along?
So I had been traveling all around and basically teaching survival and learning survival and living survival. And I randomly got a phone call one day, and they tracked me down on top of a mountain at my friend's house, who he's like antisocial. Still to this day doesn't have a cell phone. He's amazing. They tracked me down there, and they were like, "Hey, we have this new show we're developing. Wondering, if you'd be interested. It's a survival show, blah, blah, blah." Didn't have too many details, but I was like, "You're going to pay for me to go to some location and do what I do every day anyway? Great. Oceans are really hard to hitchhike across, and you're going to put me in some place I've never been. I'm down." And it was a couple months later, and they were throwing me out there, and the whole naked thing, it's funny. It was like a side note in the beginning. And then I was like, this might be a possibility. And then all of a sudden I'm like stripping my clothes off on a beach with some dude I'd never met and heading into a survival situation. So it's really weird. And it's funny because I didn't think, like, in the moment, it just didn't seem like it was so new. I'm like, no one's ever going to see this. Like, it's not a thing. It's just whatever. I'm just here for the experience. And then it kind of just kept going. I mean, I can't believe that was 7 years ago. I can't believe this show is still, doing so great. And I've gone and done it 5 times now, which is funny. But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. It's definitely different to go and survive with a camera crew than by yourself. But, I'm all about strange experiences. So
Yeah. We were just wondering though, because we've had the chat already about guys sliding into your DMs differently to how 2 nice Scottish guys that want to get you on the podcast do. And then they're like, yeah, so we're going to get you to do the show, Laura, and we might have to get you naked. Was there ever a point where you're like, this is totally going to be filmed in a dude's basement?
Okay, so that moment actually came when I first went to LA. They make you do like a little screen test to see how, if you freeze up the camera or not. So I get to this hotel and I'm like, I really don't know who I'm meeting. I'm really confused. I've talked to like six different people through email. What's really going on? I go into the hotel and they have me go into this room, and there's a couch set up with lights on the couch. And I was like, what's going on? And it was definitely a funny moment of just being like, oh my gosh, like what I get myself into now? Like classic Laura, just, everything will be great. And then I walk into a complete shitstorm of what turns out being fine, but yeah, could have been worse.
So I don't neither does Ali really. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I was aware of the show, but I don't really watch TV. So the first thing that Ali sent me was it Alaska? And it was like
the Alaska clip, yeah.
And that's when you're sitting in an ice bath eating butter. And I was driving, and I was kind of had my phone set up, and I was watching it on YouTube, and I honestly, it was one of those moments where you kind of go, what the fuck? Just sitting there, I was just laughing so hard.
Laura coming out of a chest freezer like a vampire out of a coffin.
It was like a mermaid, but like she's eating butter.
I got burns from that freezer, so it went down to like -50, and my arms like touched the side, and I had like huge, massive chunks of skin just peel off because that thing was so cold. But yeah, I mean, it worked. It was great.
So that was when on Instagram, like I told you that on Instagram, and then Laura said to me, Ali, like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to tell you that's the first time I've done that," and then sent a picture of butter.
Right at that moment,
these big teeth mark out of it, and it's like, oh man, this girl's insane. I love it.
As long as it's salted butter, I'm not a monster. I wouldn't ever do that with unsalted butter, but salted butter is delicious. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Anything you put butter on, you're just eating it because it's a vessel for the butter.
This is very true. That is a very, very good point, actually. It's true. You just put butter on things to have the butter on it. So just
dry toast.
Out, just eat the butter.
That's one of the...
I don't want the bread.
Holy shit.
It just blew my mind.
I think you did. That was like that was like some of the finest philosophy this side of Homer Simpson. That was tremendous. That was like
my gift to the world.
Butter's the butter that you put in the vessel to get the butter in your mouth. Damn.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
Yep.
You know that has to be the title of your biography when you write it now.
I know for sure. For sure. Body by butter. Get rid of it.
Getting ready for summer with butter. Oh man, so yeah, so the how cold was it in that episode? Because I watched some of it, and was it?
I mean, yeah, it was cold. It was up top. They dropped us off, right next to a glacier. And having to walk through waist deep snow naked was a trip. So we got to go down the mountain, of course, where there wasn't snow, but it was still, it was freezing, below freezing. It was cold, and the ground, it's kind of swampy, but it's got permafrost under it. So it's always, you're just in an ice box. I mean, it was pretty chilly out there. But honestly, it was one of the easier episodes I've done because the food was so plentiful. I mean, we were living large there. So that was
Yeah. That's it looks well, I've never been, but yeah, the snow it's when your feet, like, if your feet get wet, that's when when your feet get cold, like everything goes to fuck. It's like, it's fucking awful.
Yeah, your feet are like, I don't know if this is a chick thing, but like when your butt gets cold and then just becomes this cold sink that freezes the rest of your body, it's no good.
It's not in that situation, especially if I was naked, it would not my butt being cold that I would be concerned about. It would be it would be the old gentleman sausage.
Indeed.
That was the funny thing, was watching my partner come towards me with his balls literally dragging in the snow, and I mean that's the moment. And when you see it like that, it was like, oh, I feel really lucky right now. At least I'm not dealing with that.
That's true. That's true. But even going back to feet, and again, that's totally not a foot fetishist in any shape or form. But you were saying in that episode you were walking through the snow and it had like the texture of, I think, said like a snow cone. It was just chewing your feet up, even in that first stretch, wasn't it?
I still have scars on my feet from that. And actually, funny enough, we made shoes out of the hides they gave us. So we spent like 3 hours that first day just stitching up. I mean, I made some badass mucklucks, and then we started walking in the snow and got, I don't know, 20 feet, and they started just coming apart like tissue paper. So something about whatever tan was used on those hides, they didn't hold in the snow, and it was so depressing. So it wasn't even worth trying to wear them because they were just falling apart. And yeah, it was cold, but I'm glad the whole episode wasn't in waist deep snow, because that would probably sucked a lot more. But
so the next thing I want to, I know Ali wants to talk to you about this as well, is knives.
Yes.
I'll talk about knives.
Yeah, totally. So I used to be a farrier, so I was shoeing horses for a while, and started blacksmithing, and of course, being out in the woods all the time and relying on a knife for my one survival thing for years, has natural progression, right? You want to make your own knife, mostly because I have tiny hands, and most knives are meant for men. So I'm like, I'm going to make my dream knife with a tiny little handle. And, started making knives, not as a business, just for myself. And then I had a publisher reach out, and we were talking about different things I could write about, and ended up settling on knife making, which is kind of terrifying because I was like, I'm not an expert. There's so much to learn. But luckily, I have all these really incredible, super badass knife making buddies, and started doing tons of research, because if you ask 10 different knife makers, they'll tell you 10 different ways to make a book. But I basically wrote the book I wish that I'd had when I first started. And I love it. I mean, it's something that's super, super addictive. It's the one thing where if you're out there, you can use stone tools, but nothing replaces steel. You have to modify everything you do. So knives have just meant so much to me throughout my life. And even just having them, and I'll never have enough knives. Like, I love different knives. I love seeing the way they work, putting them to test out in the field. And I think that's kind of the one thing about me as a knife maker, is like, I know how they perform. And so I know what to make that I want. And it's been great to like get to make your dream knife and then go and see if it works and what you want to fix on it, and then come back to the drawing board and change some things. And I've been surprised how many people make knives that I've met now that I'm kind of in that world. It's shocking to me how many people you'd never know. And they're like, oh yeah, also I have this huge knife set up in my garage and I do it all the time.
Yeah, it's something that I think as I've gotten older, I'm really fascinated with like handmade things. So like that clock there is handmade. A friend of mine made that, and I'd like handmade thing and making a knife something that's like that just seems cool. Like I don't know why, it just seems like I'd like to make a knife.
Oh
Just
man.
learn how to do canister Damascus first. Don't go in the show and not know how to do canister Damascus.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to make that mistake. But no, I mean, I think it's one of those things that knives change the world, and that's something that just ties us back to this lineage of humanity where there was always a blacksmith in the town, but how many people have actually seen it in person? Not a lot. And I think it's cool that shows like Forge and Fire are bringing that back, because now people are really getting back into it. And I think when you start doing it, it's not only super awesome to be able to make something with your own hands and then get to use it, but it's like you kind of just get brought back into this other world where, it's just different and more real than a lot of people's realities now.
Yeah. Whenever me and Aaron watch, Aaron's my son, whenever we watch Forged and Fire, as we do religiously, it's one of those things where, like, we have no idea. We've never done it before. We've only ever seen it on the TV show. And it's one of those ones where we've seen that many episodes that we now feel we are an expert. And we'll be like, that tang is way too thin for that length of a blade. And we're like, he's really going to try and water quench a 4.5-foot blade. That's going to warp so badly. He's got mild steel built into the spine of that. It's going to warp so bad. I can't believe, oh my God, I can't actually watch this. We've never literally done anything knife making, but we now feel we're complete experts. We're like, yeah, he's not putting enough white out in that canister Damascus. He's not getting that can off. He's not getting that can off. It's ridiculous.
Well, see, now you gotta put it to the test. I'm gonna just follow in his footsteps and get you guys booked, and I want progress updates.
I would. So we talked about this before as well. So I looked at one of your knife making book. So yeah, if you would, we'll buy a couple if you sign them for us. That would be amazing.
Oh, I'll send you guys some. I know it's Christmas time. I've been meaning, now that I'm home, I gotta get a bunch more.
That would be amazing. So
Sorry, Chris, those mountain lion claws, the Damascus mountain lion claws that you made the other day were incredible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love, like, just making knives is one thing, but you're kind of making kind of the same grinds. Whereas going in, I love Damascus. I think Damascus is just beautiful, and just getting to make different shapes and forms and bring something to life. It's like I have this strange artist part of me that just really, I love it. It's so much fun to me, and it's cool. I mean, it's something I was doing for myself, and then people were asking if they were for sale, and I was like, I don't know, like, you really want to buy this? Like, I put so much time into it. I don't know, but like, do you think it's cool too? Okay. And it's been really fun, but I love like bringing something out of nothing. You start with like this steel that looks like crap, and you finish and you're like, cool, like I did that. Making stuff is so fun to me.
Yeah, I would say I would buy one of your knives, but I don't think you could send a knife like through the post. Like, and I'm not sure you could do that. I don't think it's something you could do.
Like Australia is where I've really run into trouble. Is they'll hold it in customs forever, and everywhere is different. But yeah, that's something I want to do is start making more knives to sell, because I have people ask me all the time, and actually I have never sold a knife. I'm the idiot who just is like, oh, you want one? Like, let me give it away. And I've never made myself a knife. I don't carry my own knife, and I guess I have out in the shows, but yeah, it's funny. I'm excited that now it's going to be winter in Montana. I'm like, all right, it's shop time. It's going to be good.
It's funny. I was going to say one of the things that was funny, because you were saying you used to shoe horses, as Ali knows this because I posted it on Facebook. It was one of the videos I found myself watching, and I was fascinated. And like, when you're like 11 minutes into a video and you're like, I was watching somebody shoe a horse, and it's like, why the fuck? I don't own a horse, and I'm just watching. When you're watching, going, oh, that's really satisfying. The filing the edges and the getting. I'm like, wow. And then it's like, why the fuck am I watching a video on how to shoe a horse?
I love it. You're not the first person who's told me that, which is really strange. I'm like, I need to go online and start looking at all these like beautifully done farrieing videos that are out there.
So satisfying. But yeah, it's just because you mentioned it, and it was one of those things where I did post it. And it's like, why the fuck I don't know why I'm watching this, but yeah, I'm
It's like when it's 3 a.m. and you're watching two Indian men build a swimming pool in their back garden with just like bamboo.
Right? Yeah, the strange rabbit holes that we find ourselves down. We're like, how did we even get here?
yeah. Those Wikipedia rabbit holes are the worst thing to fall down. Fall down those. It's like, what was Steve McQueen's net worth? Like, why the fuck does that matter?
Right. And then suddenly you're checking out who the left back was for 1964 Aston Villa.
Yeah.
That's why I just have one career. I get so distracted by everything. I mean, it's like that's basically how most people watch YouTube is how I've lived my life. I'm like, what's that over there? What's that over there? And then I'm like, how would I end up here? Like, what am I doing right now?
You've maybe both maybe avoided this. Chris, you might have with your nephews and stuff, but have you ever watched when the guys do pancake art?
What?
And they make pictures with pancakes. See, both of you did the same. Go, what? Yeah, you don't have fucking kids. I do. They make pictures with pancakes. They use different coloured batters, and they make pictures with. My daughter sits and watches it for hours and hours and hours. And I've done the same. I've come through. What are you watching?
I eat pancakes for hours.
Yeah.
She's like,
yeah, it's guys making pancake art, and then I suddenly find myself sitting there for 3 hours watching dudes making pancake art on flat irons live on YouTube.
Or like portraits or landscapes, or are they just like
just anything?
Simple?
They get like obviously they've all got like 1 million subscribers to their channel, and people will send in requests. So they'll be like, "Can you do SpongeBob punching Bart Simpson?" And they'll do like. As a massive pancake. It's all random.
Punching Bart Simpson.
I couldn't think of anything else. I was on the spot. I couldn't think of anything else, okay?
You're going to check on me on Instagram in like 2 months, and I'm going to be like diving down the pancake making hole. I'm just going to be completely distracted and changed my career, and that's going to be my life.
We know you've gone too far, and you're like, "Hi guys, welcome back to my channel." That's when we're like, nah, I am now unfollowing Laura Zerra.
Doing makeup tutorials at the same time that I'm, making pancakes.
Oh man, yes. Oh Jesus, this is these conversations never ever go even remotely the way you think they're going to go. They kind of go here, and it's like, woo.
This was your planned it from the start.
Yeah,
You're
no, it's
pancake art.
You could not plan the way this stuff goes, but it's funny because you're talking about your life's like a YouTube history search, because we're talking about this just recently when somebody was I think it might have been a guy at Jiu-Jitsu, and he was talking about the stuff that I do. So I've done loads of sports, and I was saying, yeah, I've done a lot. I'm very average at a lot of things. I'm not good at anything, but I'm very average at a lot of things.
I relate to that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't I'm an expert on anything, but I can talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny. Then someone will ask me about, or even if I've like been away from knife making, like I went into my friend's shop the other day and I hadn't made a knife and, it'd been like so many months. And I went back and I'm like, man, he probably thinks I've completely made up this whole knife making thing, because I feel like everything I do, I'm not naturally good at anything. I don't retain it. So I go back to it and there's like a good week of doing it where I'm like, it's pretty much like I'm get to learn again, It's like, all right. But it's, it's funny like that, but it keeps it interesting. I mean,
definitely.
I think if I was really exceptionally good at one thing, I think my life maybe wouldn't be as interesting, because maybe I would just be so focused on that I wouldn't have all these other experiences.
100%.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just making excuses, but
the one thing,
being a generalist in the world of specialists.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. People have asked me before, so you're doing this Ironman, like what, do you like the swimming? Do you like the cycling or the running? It's like, no, I like getting a pint afterwards. I'm just doing it because I can't do it. I'm not built for swimming, running, or cycling, and that's exactly why I try. So I don't like any of it, but I've kind of committed to doing this, so now I feel like I have to. But yeah. But yeah. So the one thing that I do, and I've said this a few times now, I really want to learn to hunt. That's the thing that I really want to learn how to do. We have to rifle hunt in Scotland. You're not allowed to bow hunt, but that's something. I think one of my buddies, he does a little bit of hunting, so we're going to go shoot some clays, learn how to shoot a rifle soon
So
and
I
learn
love
how to go hunting. Yeah.
so exciting. I didn't start hunting till I was 18. When I was in college, and I didn't know anyone who did it, and I just started picking up roadkill, and that's how I learned how to like butcher and all of that stuff, skin things, and then finally my professor, he was a bow hunter. He like built his own bows, so he taught me how to build bows, and that's kind of how I got my start. But it wasn't until like a really considerably older age when I talk to people who has been hunting since they're young. But the gun stuff, man, I just this year or last year smashed my face open for trying to shoot ducks for the first time. I shot clays like once, and then I got really excited and completely slammed the gun into my face, split my entire lip open. I'm still learning how to rifle hunt, shotgun hunt, all that.
Yeah. That's
Fun. I love
that's
it.
something. I think I can't think of anything better than getting lost in the woods of America and fucking going hunting. So that sounds amazing to me. It really does.
Yeah.
But like as you're saying, hiking in whatever 30, 40, 50 miles, and then that sounds amazing to me. That might be a holiday for me in the coming years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, keep posted because I'm out in the Rockies now, and I'm telling you, elk hunting is like, it's not that I don't want to hunt anything else, because I do. I want to hunt everything. But if I had to only hunt one thing forever, it would just be elk. I mean, I love the terrain they're in. I love like the whole experience of it, everything about them. They're incredible animals, and hardest thing you'll ever do. I mean, getting out there and just, it's so great.
Yeah.
I found out I was going to live out here too late to get the tag I wanted, but next year it's on. I'm just disappearing.
Who was the American girl who got absolute shit for shooting a wild sheep in Scotland, Ali, on one of the islands? Who was that? A Scottish girl, and she got fucking absolute shit for it. Who
You
was
keep
that?
talking. I'll do a young Jamie and pull it up.
Pull it up.
What-
Yes.
Or was it like just because she killed an animal?
It was partly because she was an asshole American over in Scotland. It was partly because she had a gun in Scotland, and it was partly because she was shooting our sheep, and that's our job. I think it was a little bit the combination of them all, kind of, and obviously social media played a part. Not that any Americans are assholes, just for all the Americans listening, we love you all.
Did she get in legal trouble for it?
No. So this the problem. The problem is hunting is not. It's not a big thing here. So she did everything properly. She had a guide. She had a tag. It was the correct sheep to shoot. It was an older sheep. It was just people who didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, she had a legal. I've just pulled it up. She had a legal certificate to cull the animal. It was on an uninhabited island that some sheep were on and were destroying all the local vegetation. Her name's Larissa Switlick. I'm possibly butchering that. And she came across, and it was a dead goat, in fact, actually. Shot a wild goat, and posted a picture of herself on Twitter, smiling. And Scotland kicked off and reported it to Police Scotland on Twitter. Like, she shot one of your goats. She shot one of your goats.
I know people who I know eat McDonald's and love a kebab after a drunken night out, and they're like, that's fucking ridiculous, shooting a goat.
Yeah.
You eat McDonald's, you fucking moron. This is not. It's only ignorance. They have no idea how any of it works. She's not just. You know what I mean? So it's just a knee-jerk reaction.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at one of the comments on the Twitter page. It says, "Take your money and get out of our fucking country, and I hope you fall in a pile of thistles on the way." that is so Scottish.
That's
Very Scottish. It's very Scottish. Very Scottish. But yeah, so yeah, that's something I want to learn to do, but I don't care about if anybody wants to,
But I found that if I ever post anything on it, people will obviously attack me right away, especially people from other, Brazil, for example, where I have a lot of Brazilian followers, but a lot of them haven't, there's not hunting down there, and there's not an understanding of what kind of is behind it. It's not like I'm going and just posing with this animal. Like it means a lot more to me, and it's literally what I do for food. And I find that most people, when they come at me and attack me for it, it's like, of course, your knee-jerk reaction is to be like, well, fuck you then. Like, whatever. Don't judge me. I'm going to block you. But instead, my dad always, when I was younger, he would say, what is it? You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And I don't know why you want to catch flies, but it's so true. Like you just, instead of having that knee-jerk reaction, explaining to them and just killing them with kindness, kind of, and 99 times out of 100, they'll come back and be like, wow, like, thank you for telling me. I didn't understand that. And I totally support that. That's great. And I think so many things, people just want to fight it out and put up that wall and like go back and forth. And it's like, a lot of it's just not understanding all of it. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like you can stretch that into anything, whether it be like politics, so many things where people want to be on different sides. And it's like, I
think one of the reasons that hunting's not as popular in Scotland is because it's quite class related. So a lot of the big Highland estates, like I grew up on an island on the west coast of Scotland.
I grew up in a castle.
I did grow up in a castle, just for the record. But the gamekeeper in the gilly used to go out and stalk the red deer, because the old deer, you had to cull them. There was too many. There's no natural predators, so you have to thin out the herd. You had to cull a certain number of stag every year, and the gilly and the gameskeeper would go out and shoot them and bring them back in, and everyone would have venison, and that's okay. But the people that would go out on the shoot paid a lot of money to go out on the shoot. It wasn't the working class people. They were paying, back in the 80s and 90s, several hundreds of pounds, probably thousands of pounds nowadays. But then you guys have the tag system, don't you? So I suppose, is that similar? Does it, not wanting figures, but I take it you pay for the tags?
You do. And if you're a resident in a state, then it's a lot cheaper. Like it's something like, I don't know, $60 in Montana if you're a resident, but if you're out of state, it's $1,000.
Wow.
And depending on what tag you want to get to get access to certain properties, there's something called like a governor's tag in certain states where it's like massively expensive, or they can do auctions where, you can pay a ton of money and get a tag that most people have to put in a lottery for 40 years before they get it. So there's all different levels. And, if you go to a private ranch where you're having outfitters, it can be really expensive. But then if you're, just trying to feed your family and, you want to get a deer tag or whatever, an elk tag, and you live in that state, it can be pretty cheap. So it's it's accessible to everyone, really.
Yeah, I think, like Ali was saying, it's more sort of like an upper class thing in the UK. That goes to like the fox hunting thing, which people still get crazy about. And it was kind of like the toffs went out and hunted, and the common man hated them. So yeah, I think but as you're saying, it's people who are ignorant and don't understand. People who are sitting eating a kebab from the takeaway and they're like, oh, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, okay, fat ass.
There's definitely certain certain parts of it, like some of the pheasant hunting where they actually bring in birds from a farm and release them for you to shoot and stuff like that. Like it can be super expensive. So there's a lot of hunting like that where it's like you're loaded if you're doing it. And it kind of becomes a status thing where like the gentleman will go out on the bird hunt or whatever. But that's like few and far between, because there's so many people that are just, going out for food. And I don't know, I love that about it. But
I have listened to Cam Haynes talking about. Do you know Cam? Is he a friend? You know Cam. So I've listened to him a few times, like explaining the situation about how it works when people were getting like super pissed off, and he's one of the guys who really explained it in incredible detail. And I love that shit. Where people are just getting so annoyed, but yeah.
He's done so much for just the hunting world and bow hunting in particular, and turned so many people onto it. And I mean, he's an amazing person. Again, super nice dude, but also just he practices what he preaches and he shares it with people in such a real way. And it's incredible how many people have taken up bow hunting, or even if they don't do it, they know about it now because of what he's done, which I think is just incredible. Because before that, it's like the hunters that go out and get the trophy African animal and pose with it smiling and, all of that, which sure, you can talk about the reasons for it, but when someone just sees that picture and that's all they have to go on and they don't understand the conservation and the money and blah, 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 then it can turn them off completely and bring them to this side where they just want to end all hunting. So it's like, I don't know. I love that social media allows us to have our own voices and kind of tell our own truths. And hated hunting because I thought everyone was just out there to kill stuff and think they were like a big man because they shot something. But Clearly,
Yeah.
I've seen the fight.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I know of hunting, basically, from listening to Cameron Haynes. So,
Yeah.
and it's saying like, oh, I really like the sound of this, like, kind of respecting the animal. You have to, doing what he's doing or you're doing. You can't be, unfit and out of shape and go and kill these animals. You have to be fucking fit and strong. You have to really, have the patience to do it and have the, the technique, the skill to use the weapon. It's just like that sounds so nice. I love that idea. So,
Yeah.
hopefully at some point I'll get to go do it in Scotland someplace. But I probably won't post it on social media because I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience to kill them with kindness and be like, "Fuck you, come down to the gym."
I know, it's like
punch
being
your
a
teeth
date.
out. Yeah, I'm not-
Spot right now. I can deal with this onslaught.
yeah, it's funny. I wonder if it's. Do you get Is it? Do you think you're more of a target being a woman for shit like that?
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I feel like anyone who puts stuff out there, I think that what I have noticed is when I do go hunting, I have people attack me saying that, oh, did your boyfriend bring you out? Or, it's more about my skills that they're attacking versus like the animal rights stuff. It's just, this girl doesn't know what she's doing. She just did it for Instagram, and you'll always get those idiots. But I think as a female, that's the only thing I get more of. I think the hate is equal, male and female. We have some equality in the genders there for anti-hunters.
Yeah. I suppose so. I actually, I think one of the things that I was going to ask you about, or I don't know if I was asking you about or tell you. So one of the things is I feel, having spoken to you a little bit, I get this impression from you that you're one of those people that probably doesn't realize that you're like kind of a big deal, or do you know what I mean? I get this idea, like this impression from you, like. Yeah, just I get that impression from you because some people, even to us, were like, "Oh my god, she's amazing," and it's like you speak to you, and it's kind of like,
find out. I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, and it's like I don't, and I'm sure I said this to Ali. I'm like, I don't think Laura realizes that she's like quite a big deal.
I realize that I'm not.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, It's like some people kind of like know that they're, cool or have a big following or something, and then you got other people like, no, I don't think she knows that she is. Just said.
I guess coming from like being this weird, awkward child and then like living my life and finally finding my happiness and just being the weird homeless nomad girl spending time in the woods surviving, like that's who I am. And so it's like still weird to me that anyone cares or wants to see any of it. I'm like, why is it like, that's so funny to me that people find that interesting now because I'm just doing what I do. Like it's just been my life, and it doesn't seem like, I think it's amazing to get to meet people, A, who are interested in the stuff that I do, or think that, B, what I do is interesting. I'm like, I just think it's amazing that there's anyone out there who is into that. So it's been cool for me to be like, oh, weirdos unite, like there's more of us out here.
Yeah. Me and Chris get a little tiny piece of that because we've said, how many times have we said, Chris, we've asked people to like yourself to come on the podcast. And like, Jack Carr, Clint Emerson, just to throw out a few names. And they're like, yeah, we'd love to come on. And we're like, fuck, what? Like, what?
Actually, November is a prime example of that. So we had Jack Carr on, who's another, like Bert Soren, fucking sweetheart of a guy. Lovely, nicest guy in the world. And then Jason Gardner, Navy SEAL. Him and Ali are now BFFs. And now, you, and then, is it Wednesday, Ali? We're speaking to Nest Knight, who's also, fucking amazing person. And it's just like, this seems surreal. So yeah, it's
and then in between all those episodes, we got psychoanalyzed by a Canadian in the form of Megan McDougall.
Yeah, it's like yeah, we did. Yeah, it was like a therapy session. She's a cool girl, but yeah, she was judging me because I haven't eaten pasta and all sorts of crazy shit. But yeah, so it's the world's crazy. You know, we
So
said
crazy.
this about 2020 in particular. It's like, I know a lot of people have had hard times and all this kind of stuff, and me and Ali are here going, I can't fucking believe we're still doing this shit.
Well, totally. No, I mean, and I think that's the best part about it. And I don't know, because you guys started because of COVID, right?
We started
Yeah.
they announced the lockdown in Scotland on the Thursday, and me and Chris have been kind of half banding about an idea of a podcast for a year or so. But that'd be pretty cool if we did a podcast. We know enough interesting people to maybe do a few episodes, and then obviously life gets in the way. And then lockdown happened, and we kind of went, shall we do it? And that Sunday, we both, like, Chris was up, I was awake, so I was like, we'll jump on Skype, we'll talk for an hour, we'll record it, we'll put it out there and see how much abuse we get. And then we're like, that was actually quite fun. And then we just took off. And then it turns out one thing I have discovered from 2020 is my sliding into DM of Random American main game is super strong.
Amazing.
Because the amount of guys I've slid into the DMs and been like, hey, hi. Fancy coming onto a podcast and talking to two Scottish guys. And there was a point, and we talked about this in a recent episode, where we called it the Silly Goose Gang very early doors because me and Chris are Silly Goose. And then it got to the point where, and we both said the episode where we started to panic about the name was, I decided on episode like 12. So about 5 weeks into doing a podcast, I would try and get the former head of the FBI counterintelligence program on the podcast, right? Now, this guy, Robin Dreek, who again, shout out to Robin, he's a sweetheart. He used to recruit Russian spies to spy on Russia for the US government.
Amazing.
And I thought, I'll slide into his DMs and ask him if he fancies coming on. And we did have a debate about, do we change the name? Because we're going out to people like this and we're called the Silly Goose Gang. But when we added Robin into the call, the very first thing he said is, I've been waiting on this all day. And we're like, sorry, what now? And he was like, yeah, speaking to two Scottish guys that call themselves the Silly Goose Gang, what's not to love? Like, everyone takes themselves so seriously.
Yeah. You like try to be like badass, whatever. It's like, come on.
So this is funny because we literally talked about this earlier on. So before we added you in, so we're talking to so episode 50 was the last one with Jason Gardner. So we spoke to Jason before. He's such a nice guy, a complete badass. And we said, episode 50, we talked to him the first time and he started to tell some war stories towards the end. And we said, episode 50, let's get Jason back on, tell war stories. So we had him on to tell him war stories. It was fucking hilarious. And he's telling these stories about shooting people and all, and it's brilliant. But towards the end, I think it was off, maybe on camera, off, I can't remember. So Ali and Jason started talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And it's like, there's this absolute savage who's just talking about shooting Somali guys with 50 cal snipers and them exploding. And now he's talking like he's like, I've loved Dungeons and Dragons, and him and Ali are totally geeking out. And it's just like, this is hilarious. This is hilarious.
Yeah, because like we're nerds at heart, no matter how badass everyone else thinks we are. It's like everyone's got that part of them, and so, I don't know why they try to hide it.
Yeah, so like, and that's what I was saying to Ali. So I was like, I go to, we do jiu-jitsu, we try and kill each other. I'll go climb hills on my own. It's like, deadlifting, whatever, swimming in cold locks. And then I get home and it's like, oh, there's something on about Egypt. I need to watch this. It's like, you're trying to be like super cool, and it's like, oh no, I'm not. I'm actually just a massive geek. And
totally.
So we're not these guys who I feel like we're not these guys who try and be super cool. We're just like, we're kind of dorky, and Ali's daughter gives him shit because he comes to wrestling in a fucking singlet, and he's.
She actually said that I came back from wrestling practice the other week still in my singlet, and she went, "You disgust me." Just shook her head.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think there's something about just like the authenticity that like just being able to own whoever you are. It's like that resonates more than like what kind of savage external like thing you're projecting that everyone else buys into. It's like, no, I just want to like talk to real people and meet real people and surround myself with them.
When you get completely comfortable in your own body and your own skin, that shit doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter at all. Do you know what I mean? So when it's competition time and we're wrestling or fighting or whatever, it's like, okay, I'm gonna I'm going to try and win. I'm going to try and fuck this guy up. But then it's all over and done with it. Then it's like, man, I'll buy you a beer. Do you want to have a beer and we'll just shoot the shit? Because that's like kind of why I am. So yeah, I think when you get super comfortable, you don't care about any of that external fucking nonsense about I'm trying to be this. Like, come on, man.
That's too short.
Yeah.
Sounds like so much effort. I need effort to put into other things, not that.
So many things to do in life. I'm not trying to do anything like that. So sorry.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Sorry, I think I've got a horrible cough here. Not the COVID.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Not the COVID. But yeah, so what are the plans moving forward, or are you just winging it?
I mean, all my life, mostly just winging it. I actually am, speaking of podcasts, in the works starting a podcast. So just dealing with the technology part of things is hilarious. My friend Eva and I have been messing around, and I swear, once this thing gets going, we're just going to release a YouTube video of the first hour of us trying to figure, hey, is this working? Nope. Oh, God. Oh, what do we do? Where do we look? Like, it was pretty hilarious because for as much as I have a broad range of skills, technology in me. So, but yeah, I'm excited about that. And just as like another way to kind of interact with people that's not just Instagram. That's kind of all I do, and just kind of sharing stories and people I've met, and see where it goes. It'll be fun. But doing that, getting back into the knife shop, going to start working on getting knives out, and couple of other kind of things that may or may not pan out in the TV kind of entertainment realm, that like TBD. So but yeah, it's just kind of going with it and taking one day at a time and figuring out opportunities. And I took 1.5 years off of social media, and now coming back to it, it's like, all right, like, where am I headed with this? Like, what direction in the world do I want to go to now that I'm climbing out of my hole? So yeah, it's fun, but I'm not going to plan too hard, because like we talked about before, it's like, I want to be open to the craziest stuff. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's one of the things that's so we've recorded like 5 episodes in 6 nights or 7 nights once, because people kept saying yeah, so we just kept chucking them out.
yeah.
And it did get to the stage though where it was like, when you did get the night off, it's like, oh, thank fuck, now I want to go and run someplace, because this is crazy. It's awesome fun. It's also very tie-in. So even though it was like, today it was like, fuck yeah, I'm looking forward to this podcast tonight with you. This would be great fun. But then it's like doing my workout in my little gym outside, and it's like, okay, I have to cut it here because I have to go get showered, get changed. So it's it's awesome fun, you also have to cut, like, mess things about. So you go, I can't really do that because I have to do this. So it's, although it's awesome, it's quite restrictive in your life. So but it's it's so much fun. It's so much fun just having these conversations. And yeah, we never thought we'd get to this stage, and here we are now. And it's one of the things that's quite funny. So when people ask us about like the early ones, it's like, oh man, when we listen to the early ones, it's so bad. They're so bad, just tripping over each other and like kind of not knowing what to say, and the audio was shit because we didn't have any of these mics, and the whole thing was terrible. But like anything, like you stick with it, you get better.
Yeah.
You know what? You either go, okay, this is not for me, let's stop now, or you go, okay, let's just keep doing this and see what we have fun. So if you make a knife, or you go hunt, or you're looking for antlers, you go, okay, I could stop now because this, but I actually like it, so fuck it, let's just keep going, let's just do it and see what it ends up. That's life.
I'm not afraid of failure. Like, I think that's one of my maybe that is the only thing I'm good at, is like failing. I'm like, I never bring it. I'm not scared.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it'll be fun. It'll be good. I mean, I like the learning curve. It'll be interesting.
I'm looking forward to your podcast. I like the sound of that. That'd be funny.
Have you got a name for it yet, Laura? Have you got a name for the podcast yet?
Well, I've been kind of trying to figure that out, because there's so many podcasts out there, and a lot of them are taken. But I love the whole idea of like, originally I wanted it to be called Decivilized, because I love the whole idea of like stripping it all down, and even just like breaking away from what you think you're supposed to be, and the whole image of what the perfect world is, and just getting back to what's important. And so that was what I originally planned. Of course, there's already a Decivilized podcast, so I'm kind of trying to figure out what second best is, or how to kind of reword and reframe. But I kind of been, since it's been hunting season and I've been traveling, I've been out of the podcast kind of flurry that I was in for a minute there. But once the new year comes, I'm going to really hit it hard. So, yeah.
There'll be a day where something just clicks in your head and you go, "Oh, that's the name."
Yeah, for sure.
There'll be something that happens. Yeah, but yeah, it's great fun. So that looks. I will subscribe to that. That looks
100%.
like it'd be fun.
It'll instantly make you an international podcast star because you'll have 2 Scottish subscribers. So there you go. You can add that to the resume.
That's one of the things that Ali sends me usually at the end of the month when he gets like analytics from iTunes. It's like somebody's listening to us in Jordan. Like, what the fuck?
So I guess I haven't even thought about that. As far as like, that's so wild. It's so cool.
Yeah, and we've always said, and if any of these people in these far-flung places are watching this, give us a shout. Like, well, I want to speak to the listener in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, totally. I know.
Speak to me. Like, how are you doing?
Oh, like, what's going on?
It seems so interesting, right? So, but yeah, so I am at the point where I'm running out of intelligent things to say.
Yeah, we've also done nearly 90 minutes, so we'll start winding it down. But just if people are wanting to find, I know you said you've just came back onto the social media a lot. If people are looking to follow you and find out more about you, where can they head to? And we'll tag this in the notes and add it onto all the feeds that we send out.
Perfect. Instagram is where everything comes from. So at Laura Zerra, just my name, and any kind of updates or whatever that I have, I'm pretty good at putting on there and keep pretty up to date with posting about my life. So if you want to just casually stalk me, you can always feel free to do that.
Not in person. Not in person.
No,
just on social media.
Well, try to find me. Try to keep up, and if you can, then
yeah. And if you're going to DM her, be respectful. Be respectful.
Or I'm probably going to put you on blast and have my friend Kayla dress you up in a weird costume with your genitals. Gotta have fun with it. Wife.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, episode 51 of the Silly Goose Gang podcast with the great and powerful Laura Zerra. Laura, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you guys so much.
The Silly Goose Gang podcast.